Hi everyone, and welcome to City Brew Tour's tutorial on how to bottle condition your beer. My name is Liz, I'm one of our expert beer guides, and I've led those homebrew classes. I may have even led your homebrew class. So you're in good hands as we go ahead and show you how to take that fermented wort, which is now your beer, out of the closet or wherever you fermented it, and get it into those bottles so that we can then, after 10 days, finally pop that open and enjoy our nice cold brew. So let's get started. First thing, you're gonna need to collect all of your supplies. So this includes those 750 milliliter amber bottles that we sent out to you, as well as a little bit of that plastic tubing. You should have received this as well. Now, sometimes we send you just as much as you need, and sometimes we send you a little more. I'm gonna show you with a longer piece, just in case you do need to cut it. And then you should have a bottle filling wand, okay? There's a nice little spring top there at the bottom. So there's that. Make sure that spring works. You should also have received swing tops that go with your bottles. And then we need your leftover Star San from your homebrew class. This is the sanitizer solution that we used, and we're gonna be using it again today. From your kitchen, you'll need to grab a pair of scissors, a tablespoon, a mug full of hot water. I actually microwaved this water for about 2 minutes to get it nice and hot, almost to boiling, but not quite. And then I've let it sit out for just a little bit so that it doesn't burn me if I try and dip my fingers into it, okay? You're also gonna wanna grab the pot that you used to brew your beer in, and then fill it with 2 gallons of water. Now I put down a nice towel here because we are gonna put sanitizer solution in this. And you know, if you're working on a nice surface like I am, you don't want to get that sanitizer solution on any of this because it could theoretically discolor it. It is an acid. Once you've got all of those materials collected, we'll go ahead and get started. You ready? Let's do it. Okay, first things first, let's go ahead and put together all 12 of our bottles. We're gonna go ahead and be attaching the swing tops to the top of the bottle. You want to do all 12 of them right now because we are a bit on a time crunch once we start opening that beer and we start doing the bottles. So you want to basically be as efficient with your time as possible. Just set it up all ahead of time. It's way easier. And it'll make sure that your beer doesn't go bad. So here's how we do this. These swing tops, I will tell you what, folks, I have wrestled with a few of these in my time. They can be a little tricky. Here is my best advice. What I want you to do is go ahead and take the ring, hold it up like this, okay? Make sure that the prongs are sticking up. And then what you're gonna wanna do is take that swing top and just swing it backwards like this. This is how you're gonna set this up. Then go ahead and find the 2 perforated holes that are at the top of your amber bottle. All right, once you found the first one, we're gonna put 1 prong in at a time. So the first prong goes in, okay? And then once you put the second prong in, you'll hear a nice satisfying click. Did you hear it? Great. And then we're gonna go ahead and test the seal of this bottle. So go ahead and put the swing top up at the center of the opening and then press down on the ring here. So many great noises today. And there you have it. Your bottle is sealed. So this is great. One thing that's great about using swing tops instead of doing like a bottle capper or something like that is that once you open this beer, it is a pretty large beer, 750 milliliters. So it's okay if you don't finish it in one sitting. With these swing tops, you can reseal the bottle, pop it back in the fridge, and enjoy it again the next day. I will say though, make sure you drink it within 24 hours. Otherwise, your beer will oxidize and it'll start to taste like malt vinegar. And nobody wants that. Definitely not. So, just a word to wise there. When you are going to open these, what you're going to want to do is press on those 2 prongs and then you'll hear a nice satisfying pop. And that pop will be even better after your beer has been allowed to sit for 10 days and it's built up some carbonation there. You'll have a nice satisfying pop. So go ahead and put all 12 of those together and then we'll move on to the next step. Okay. The next thing that we're going to do is we are going to be prepping the bottle filler to attach to the spigot of your fermenter. So Bottle filler. This thing is awesome. It's a great tool to use when you're bottling beer, and that's because you can go ahead and attach this to the spigot of your Monster, and you can open the spigot and beer will fill this up, but it will not come out until you activate the spring at the bottom. So in our instance, what we're going to do is once we've attached that, we're going to put it into the bottle, we're going to press it to the bottom of the bottle, and once we do, beer will start to flow, and then it'll come up and fill up that entire bottle until we go ahead and make it stop by pulling it out. So we need to attach this. How do we do that? We're going to use the rubber tubing that we sent you. Now, you don't need this much of it. If you have a long piece, you don't need that much. What we need is enough to fill this halfway through this top part of your bottle filler, and enough to go about 3 prongs up on your spigot. So that means you're looking at about 2 to 2.5 inches of this rubber tubing. What you're going to want to do is take your scissors and cut that tubing. Be careful, make sure that you cut that tubing nice and square, and make sure you cut it in one fell swoop to make sure that there's not any kind of like nicks or anything in the plastic. We want to get a really good seal on this, and so it's crucial that you're able to get a nice cut. So I'm estimating about here is where I need to go ahead and cut it. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Great. And I've gotten it nice and square. So this piece of tubing now, we're going to put it inside of that hot water in that mug that I had you put in the microwave at the beginning of this video. So pop it in there. Again, make sure that the water is not too hot to burn you, of course. And once you've let it sit there for a little minute, it's going to become nice and soft, and that's going to help us pop it in here. Okay, this part can be a little bit fun. You're going to need to wrestle with it. You're probably going to have to push pretty hard, so go ahead and just kind of wrestle it in. And once you've got a little bit of it in, here's my recommendation. Just twist and push until you can actually, in the light, you can see that the plastic has come in to about halfway through. That is what we're looking for. Okay, press nice and hard. All right, once you've done that, we can actually set that aside. We're gonna sanitize it later. So we need to put together our sanitizer solution. Grab your Star San, okay? And your 2 gallons of water that you've popped in here, make sure it's room temperature water. We don't want it too hot, we don't want it too cold. It just needs to be room temperature for the sanitizer to work the best. And you're gonna need that tablespoon. So 2 gallons of water, room temperature water, 1 tablespoon of Star San. Go ahead and put that in your pot now. Okay, and once you've done that, we are going to go ahead and take the bottle filler and we are going to stir that up. If you took one of our live homebrew classes, you may have noticed that we do not fear the foam here, okay? So you want to get a little bit of that foam going just to make sure that it's all nice and stirred in, that the sanitizer is activating and all that jazz. All right, great. Once you've done that, we're gonna need to go get our fermenter with our beer in it. We need a nice flat solid surface to do this on, so I'm gonna go ahead and clear out this area and I'm gonna set my fermenter right here. Be careful when you pick your fermenter up. I'm gonna show you how to properly pick it up, but we do not want to jostle that fermented beer at all because we don't want to over oxidize it, and that yeast at the bottom of the fermenter, we want to make sure that we're not stirring it all up because we actually don't want that yeast to get too much into our finished product. So go ahead and grab that now. So we need to go ahead and now attach the wand, the filler wand, to our spigot. Here's how we're going to do that. Grab the wand, and the first thing we want to do is go ahead and use that hot water one more time and get this soft again. Okay, so dip it in here, get it nice and soft, and then we're going to attach it about 3 prongs up on the spigot. This is really just to mold the plastic so that it'll be easier to put on after we sanitize it. Now hold the top, you don't want to wrench on this too much, make sure that you're putting even pressure to avoid damaging the spigot. Okay, press nice and hard, and then it should be molded. So now we're going to remove it, and again, make sure that you're not wrenching on that spigot too much. Now we need to sanitize this. Everything that your beer touches, everything needs to be sanitized. Just like we taught you in the homebrew class, same thing with bottling. So go ahead and take that wand, bring it over to the solution that you made, and go ahead and use your hand to kind of just get it all nice and sanitized. Make sure you get the inside. The way you can do this if you're in kind of a tall pan is you can go ahead and push down on that spring here, and then it'll fill up with water. And then once you do that, you can go ahead and grab a bunch of that sanitizer water, kind of move it back and forth. Okay, hit the spring again. We got to make sure that that spring is sanitized as well. Okay, and now when it's still wet, we're going to put it back on the spigot. And we want to make sure it's still wet because it's also going to sanitize the spigot itself. Okay, so again, using even pressure, I've got it up to the third ring there. Okay, now you can go ahead and turn the spigot on. And if you do it this way, you may notice nothing happens. Okay, now the reason for that is because we need to go ahead and take off the airlock. Okay, that's going to open us up to allow some airflow in here so that we can actually get the beer flowing. So here we go. All right, giving it just a moment, and you can see that porter is filling up nice. There you go. And you'll notice that it's not spilling out all over the floor because that spring is not activated, and so it should really keep all of that in there. Once you've done that, go ahead and turn the spigot back to off, just for safety purposes, okay? And the next thing that we're gonna do is we're gonna take all of our bottles and we're gonna sanitize all of our bottles. So use the sanitizer solution that you have here. I will say, you know, I'm using the pot, you can use the pot. You can also fill up a whole sink full. Just make sure you're using the proper sanitizing ratio. So when I normally bottle, I'll put all the, I'll fill it up in the sink. I'll put all the sanitizer solution in the sink, and then I'll put all my bottles in the sink and do it that way. This pot is a little bit small. So what I did is I went and grabbed a nice little Pyrex measuring cup here. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna fill up my bottle, okay? And I want to make sure that every part of this gets dunked in the sanitizer solution. All right. So what you can do, which is kind of nice, is you can go ahead and put this swing top on, click it down, okay? Shake this up a little bit. You might remember that we did this with your fermenter. All right, open it up again, and then dump it out. And go ahead and just like dunk your swing top in the bottle as well, the top of the bottle in your solution. We need everything sanitized. All right, now it's okay if there's still a little bit of foam in there, that's fine. And again, you don't have to be that, you don't have to do it exactly that way. You can also just like dunk it in the sanitizer solution. You don't have to shake it. I'm doing that because I don't quite have a tall enough pot here. But again, you can use the sink, you can use a bigger pot, you can use a mixing bowl, any of that works. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and bottle this. Okay, so now make sure that your spigot is turned to on, and what we're going to do is we're going to take the bottle and we want to fill it up to about this lip here, okay? And that is because the wand is going to displace some of that beer, and so when we pull the wand out, it's not going to be at this level, it's going to be at the level we want, which the final level we want is right here at the shoulder of the beer. So here we go. Again, making sure this is on, making sure you don't have your airlock on, and go ahead and press this up until it hits the bottom, and then the beer should start to flow, okay? Now, this is going to flow, and if you do have a little bit of foam inside of your bottle, it's okay if some of that comes up out of your bottle, totally normal. So you can kind of see in the video, we've got the level rising, and I'll pull it off. I'll pull the wand out as soon as we reach kind of up where my thumb is. All right, great. Okay, so now we have that final level of bite right here. That's great. Now you just need to go ahead and go grab your carbonation drops, and we're gonna go ahead and put some carbonation drops in here. Okay, so for the carbonation drops that we sent you, you should use 2 carbonation drops for these 750 milliliter bottles. They are basically just sugar, and what's going to happen is that the yeast is going to eat that sugar, and then it's going to produce you carbon dioxide. Then after 10 days, enough carbon dioxide will have built up. That's appropriate for the style of beer that you brewed. I'm brewing a porter right now, so I'm going to use those 2 drops, same as you, and I'm going to go ahead and pop them in. And you can hear they make kind of a satisfying little sound. And what we need to do then is we're going to seal the top. Make sure it makes that nice little click. Okay? Then we're going to turn this upside down and make sure that those drops are free flowing. Okay, you can kind of hear it. You should be able to hear it. Just do this a couple times. And then your bottle is ready to go back into the closet or wherever you were fermenting your beer and sit for another 10 days. Once again, as a reminder, we don't want any light to get into these. We want to keep them at a nice, consistent room temperature, and they should be ready to put into the fridge after those 10 days. Go ahead and put them in the fridge for 24 hours, and you'll be ready to drink your beer.